Are we live now, Cindy?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So it's 7 o'clock, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to take attendance first. So Councillor Brooker? Present. Councillor Castelline?
Present.
Councillor Cross?
Present.
Councillor Shipham?
Present.
Okay, thank you. Next is number 2, written disclosure of pecuniary conflict of interest. Councillor Cross, do you have any written disclosure of pecuniary conflict of interest?
No, I don't.
Councillor Brooker?
No, I don't.
Councillor Castelline?
No, I don't.
And Councillor Shipham?
No.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is item 3. It's petitions and delegations, of which we have none tonight. Next item on the agenda is reports from municipal officers, of which we have none tonight. And then the next item after that is number 5, reports from committees, and we have none of those tonight either. After that, we have number 6, action letters. So the first item, A, under action letters, is to adopt the minutes of Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for this. So Councillor Brooker, can you move this one, please? Okay, and Councillor Castelline, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Brooker and seconded by Councillor Castelline that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, January the 11th, 2022 be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Any discussion, Councillor Brooker?
Discussion.
Okay, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Castelline?
And no discussion.
And Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this resolution to a vote. Do you vote to accept this resolution? Yes or no, Councillor Brooker?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Castelline?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so this resolution carried. Next item on the agenda is item B, and it's a resolution to adopt the minutes of Monday, January the 17th, 2022 meeting. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this resolution as well. So Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Shipham, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Cross, seconded by Councillor Shipham, that the minutes of the special meeting of council held on Monday, January 17th, 2022 be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Any discussion? Councillor Brooker.
No discussion.
Councillor Castelline.
I have nothing on this. No, thank you.
Councillor Cross.
No, I'm good.
Councillor Shipham.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this resolution to a vote then. Are you in favor of accepting this resolution? Yes or no, Councillor Brooker?
Yes.
Councillor Castelline?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
And I am as well, so this resolution is also carried. So so the next item on the agenda is item C, and it's a statement from Clerk Treasurer Cindy. Cindy.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor Pennell and council members. It is with very mixed emotions that I inform you that I will be leaving my position as Clerk Treasurer for the municipality of Calvin. My last official day in this capacity will be February 18th, 2022. In doing so, I would like to express my deepest gratitude and pleasure for serving the municipality in this capacity over the past few years. My professional association, the experience I've obtained, and the supportive team that I've had the honor of working with all contributed to a successful and rewarding time at the municipality. I feel that the municipality of Calvin is on track and will be well equipped for future growth and development. And on that note, I wish you all the very best for continued success. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You got your hand up, Councillor Cross?
Yes, I was hoping to be able to make a statement after Cindy, because I knew she was going to be stating something, but for some reason I can't load it in front of me right now. Just give me a quick second, because I'd rather read it from my prepared statement, so that way I don't go off track, if that's okay. I would like to acknowledge and thank Cindy for the wonderful years of service and her unwavering commitment and dedication as the clerk of our township. Cindy, I want to state, it is with mixed emotions that I learned that you were resigning as the clerk treasurer. As a community, we depend on professional, well-educated, informed, and courteous staff to not only administer the affairs of the community on a day-to-day basis, but also to provide guidance and courteous advice to us. We will miss those characteristics tremendously, and again, I want to thank you personally and professionally for the amazing work you have done for Calvin over the past few years that led us in this direction. Your contributions will not go unnoticed as we move forward. Thank you and good luck in your future endeavors. No matter what they are, I am sure you will be extremely successful.
Okay. I have a few points I'd like to say as well. So first, thank you to Councillor Cross for those kind words, and thanking Cindy for the work she's done in our community. And it wouldn't be right if I personally didn't take this opportunity to thank Cindy for the amazing work she's done over the past few years. You're indeed going to be missed by myself and council. Your guidance and professional advice you provided to us all will be difficult to replace. I also want to thank you, Cindy, for the many years of service, dedication, and commitment you put into your role for the municipality. We're definitely ahead as a township and moving in the right direction because of your tremendous contributions. I wish you the best of luck in your future, and as Councillor Cross stated, this is indeed with mixed emotions. We know you have a very bright future ahead of you, and no doubt will find success in your next role. Thank you again. All right.
Thank you all very much for all those kind words. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me.
That's the honest truth. Okay, so we're going to move on here. Next item on the agenda is item D, and it's from our building department. Mr. Conrad, and it's regarding suggested changes to the fee schedule. So we have a resolution in front of us that deals with this, but I'm going to need a mover and a seconder before we can discuss it. So Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Brooker, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Cross and seconded by Councillor Brooker. That Council hereby requests staff to amend the fees and charges bylaw number 2020-023 with amendment number 2020-025 to incorporate the addition of a fee for building without a permit of $500, as well as include the $75 occupancy permit fee in the initial building permit cost, therefore eliminating the need for the property owner to return to the office and apply for the occupancy permit. So I'm going to open this for discussion. Councillor Brooker, do you have anything?
No discussion.
Councillor Castelline.
No, but I think that Councillor Shippen had something to say.
Okay. I didn't hear that, sorry.
I'm sorry, I have nothing for myself, but I know that Councillor Shippen has something to contribute.
Okay. Councillor Cross?
No, we discussed this pretty well in the last meeting, and I agree this will save time for both the building inspector and the person for the fee permit.
Councillor Shippen?
But that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shippen?
I was just wondering if we could amend the resolution, because in his letter at the last meeting, he also talked about demolition without the proper permits. So if we could add that in there somehow, then I have no problem with this. It covered everything that he had suggested last meeting.
Well, I think what we need to do first is take a vote to accept an amendment to this resolution. Is that correct, Cindy?
I will type in what the amendment is, and then you can vote on it to make sure that everybody's okay with it. Does that sound fair?
Christine, can you assist Cindy with that addition?
Okay, so where is it here? Because he says an extra fee to property owners who build or demolish buildings without the proper permits.
All right, thank you. All right. So I'll read this again, okay, and then we can discuss it and vote on it. So this resolution, the amendment to it would read that Council hereby requests staff to amend the fees and charges bylaw number 2020-023 with amendment number 2020-025 to incorporate the addition of a fee for building or demolished buildings without a proper permit of $500, as well as include the $75 occupancy permit fee in the initial building permit cost, therefore eliminating the need for the property owners to return to apply for occupancy permit. Any discussion on this? Councillor Brooker.
I have no discussion.
So is the discussion now on whether to accept the amendment?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So Councillor Castelline, are you in favor of this amendment?
Yes, I am, fully.
Okay. And Councillor Cross, are you in favor of this amendment?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen, are you in favor of this amendment?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to make sure, Councillor Brooker, were you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and I am as well.
Okay.
So that was the amendment. So now is there any discussion on the resolution as it stands? Councillor Brooker.
Now, I have no discussion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Castelline.
No, I have no discussion. I think it is a good addition to the fee schedule, because as the building official said, it's costly to chase after them.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cross.
No, that's it.
Okay, and Councillor Shippen.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on this resolution. Councillor Brooker, are you in favor of this resolution, yes or no? Okay. Councillor Castelline, are you in favor of this resolution, yes or no?
Yes, I am.
And Councillor Cross, do you agree with this resolution?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen?
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so this resolution is carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is E. It's a trial balance of January the 20th. That was in our package. I'm going to see if anybody has anything that they would like to bring forth on this. Councillor Brooker?
No, I have nothing additional.
Councillor Castelline?
No, not on this one, no.
Councillor Cross?
No, I'm good.
And Councillor Shippen?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, so I'm good with that as well. So next item on the agenda is item F, and it's a bylaw to codify human resources recruitment and management policies. We have the bylaw in front of us. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for the first reading. Councillor Shippen, can you move the first reading?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Castelline, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we have the first reading of the bylaw to codify human resources recruitment and management policies, moved by Councillor Shippen and seconded by Councillor Castelline. Is there any discussion on this, Councillor Brooker?
Discussion.
Councillor Castelline?
I don't think I was part when this was first introduced. I fail to understand why we need such an extensive document if the one that we had has worked for us so well for so long. Is this something that is required by the Municipal Act, or is it something that that Calvin or that the governance of Calvin makes it easier? Also, is this something that the employees need to sign? Is it something that the employees need to agree with, or is it something that we just download on them? So why are we doing this? That's my question. Why are we doing this big city document instead of keeping our document that has worked so well for so long? That's all I have.
Okay. I know we had a number of bylaws and policies we were looking to have updated, and I think this might be one of them. And we've asked Peggy Lovelace young Lovelace to be with us tonight to explain any questions that might come up. So are you available, Peggy, to explain some of that?
So I am, Your Worship, if everyone can hear me.
I hear you.
Perfect. So one of the things, Councillor Castelline, the purpose of doing this is twofold. One, a lot of the policies that municipalities have adopted related to human resource management are outdated. Laws have changed. The Employment Standards Act has changed in a number of circumstances. And E4M proposed that we would write 38 of the required policies for councils to consider. And when we started to look at it, we realized that a lot of the policies that councils were adopting were not governance, where they weren't law. And so this is the bylaw that would be the law that council would pass. And then it would be up to the in this case, your new municipal administrator to provide the guidelines that would go with it. And we're trying to separate what is law and what is the practice of administering the law of council. And so I guess to answer your question about the policies that you've had that you know, the appearance are that they are working. They've never been adopted as one grouped bylaw on human resource management. They are adopted separately typically. And so we're trying to combine them all in one large document. So I hope that answers your question. If not, I'm happy to try to explain it differently.
And it is this large document that I'm having a little bit of a problem with. There is so much language in there that is. I'm a simple person, and I have to look at some of those articles 2 or 3 times before I say, "Well, wait a second, what does it actually say?" And yeah, the old document. I know that there have been 2 or 3 amendments to it, and why couldn't we just continue doing the amendments to the old document, the old bylaw that we have?
You know, that is absolutely council's prerogative. This is something that we have been working with a number of municipalities to do. And the difference is that the old documents are typically policy and procedure, and a lot of it is not council's purview. Council is a governance body. Council needs to set the law. And this is a document that really does set the law. And I'm sorry that it is complicated, because I thought we did our utmost best to uncomplicate it and make it so that it was more understandable than some of the policies that we've seen. And this is based on kind of the best practice that's out there across municipalities, not just your municipality.
Well, thank you for your explanation. It's still, I still scratching my head, but okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion, Councillor Cross?
I do have some prepared comments to make that kind of aligns with the recruitment policy that I'd like to read here. For us to go forward with the task of hiring a new administrative position in our township, as a small community, we need to set the standards for attracting and retaining qualified staff. We need a person that is inclusive and has the skill sets that are suitable fit for the job descriptions, but more importantly, we need the right person. If this person is from Calvin, this is a tremendous asset for us. But if we cannot find one that exists within our community, we have to reach out and beyond our area. More importantly, we need the professional to provide the ultimate continuity for this township beyond the next municipal election. We need the person to help guide this council through the end of this term and potentially new council through the beginning of the next term in 2023. This is an investment we must make in the multitude of years to come, not just a one-year Band-Aid solution. But sometimes this is something to attract to the right professional over the years. The other very important point is that there is very short window before Cindy departs us. To ensure we are utilizing best practices in finding the most dedicated and professional assistance, we need resources that help us accomplish our task. Reaching out and networking beyond our borders will only bring quality, skill, and not just acceptance of closed door approach. Council will be able then to make the best choice for this path. The other luxury we don't have as council is that at the time, the actual transition and training this new person on files and work directly impacting our township. Although this person will no doubt come with the necessary skill set to do the job that Cindy has done and more, there will be required time to transition, to learn about our community affairs. In order to get this done, we truly need the assistance from a professional service that will guide us in this process, which is, we've reached out to E4M. And I know that there's been a lot of comments made about us handing over the reins to hiring the new position for Cindy, but council is still doing the hiring. We are just reaching out and getting more help with possibly attracting the person who fits this for this position. There should be no confusion among council that this township now needs to move forward in a positive and progressive manner. We have reflected on the past, and there should be no doubt that this small community has endured some hardships, but we take those lessons, learn from them, and now move in a positive direction. This is the time now where we need to push forward in a way that is acceptable and accountable for residents in this community. We need to come together, put our division aside and behind us, and work as a committed and dedicated community towards the future development of our township. And I feel these comments that I've made have in part with this policy. I know it's a big document, and I actually was impressed that I could understand most of it, because some of the other stuff from years past is really hard to understand with the legal jargon, I guess. So I just wanted to make these viewpoints to inform our residents that we're not taking the hiring of this position lightly, and that we need to make the right fit. And by doing that, we need help because of the short time as well. So that's all I have to say. Thanks. You're on mute.
Councillor Shiplin?
No, I agree with a lot of the comments that Councillor Cross made. We don't have a lot of time to fill this position, and we need to find a person that is the right fit and has the right qualifications, whether they live in the township or outside the township. We need somebody that will grow with us, not stagnant. We need to get help because we are not administrators. We are not HR people. We do not understand the new hiring tools that are out there and available. So I fully support that E4M is helping us with this. And as Councillor Cross said, E4M is not going to be the one that is choosing the person. That will still be council. And we will make a decision that benefits the whole community. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. I think this bylaw is, well, it is text, and there's a lot of reading involved, but it's very detailed. And I agree with the comments that Councillor Cross and Councillor Shipman has made, and I agree with some of the thoughts that Councillor Castelline has said. But I think we need to move progressively forward. In the last few years, we've had some rough waters to navigate through, and we're able to do that successfully with some guidance from professionals such as Cindy and such as E4M, and I think, I really believe that we've turned a corner now, and we're moving in the right way forward. I think we need to move forward in a positive way and place all those negative forces behind us. But we can't, and I agree, we can't do that alone as council because we don't have the skills to do that. We need professional guidance and support at this critical time so that we can make a positive investment in hiring an administrator for the municipality. We need one that will provide longevity and sustainability for our staff, and we don't have the luxury of a lot of time to hire this individual and then provide training for them. So we do have professionals working for us, and I very much support that initiative, as this council should be supporting that as well, I believe. And our citizens and ratepayers in the community and council ourselves, we deserve accountability, transparency, and the ability to receive guidance and direction when we are moving forward. I think we're heading in that direction, and for the overall success of the municipality. We also want to position ourselves now in a way that we can attract and keep people in a positive and inclusive work environment. And we want that environment to be free of negative thoughts and unacceptable behaviors, and one that only invites thoughtfulness and progressive participation in the municipality. And it's okay to provide constructive criticism, but that'll only lead to a more positive outcome for Calvin. So that's kind of my thoughts on this, and I just want to follow up by saying that we have to get this together and do it for the overall betterment of our municipality. Okay? So we've all had a chance to state our opinions, and we have the first reading before us. So I'm going to call for a vote on the first reading. Councillor Brooker. do you vote to accept the first reading, yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Castelline, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So the first reading is carried. I'll need a mover and a seconder for the second reading, please. So Councillor Castelline, can you move the second reading, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipman, can you second the second reading, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So the second reading is moved by Councillor Castelline and seconded by Councillor Shipman. And it's a bylaw to codify human resource recruitment and management policies. So is there any discussion on the second reading, Councillor Booker? No? Okay, thank you. Councillor Castelline?
Can we do the third reading in next meeting?
Well, let's get finished the second reading first.
Yeah.
Okay. And Councillor Cross, you vote yes or no to accept the second reading?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the third reading, we got a request by Councillor Castelline to hold the third reading over to next meeting. But I have a hand up by Cindy.
Sorry, we just kind of skipped a step there. I thought we were doing discussion and then you were taking votes. So can we just
Didn't I do
this
the
over
vote?
again so that I can record it, please?
Okay, please, thank you. Councillor Brooker, do you vote to accept the second reading, yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Castelline?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
I vote yes as well.
Thank you.
Okay. So again, there's been a request by Councillor Castelline to hold the third reading over to the next meeting. So everybody in favor of that? Councillor Brooker?
I'm not in favor of it, so, yep. Okay with me.
Not so you are, okay. Councillor Castelline, I'll get your vote as well.
To do the third reading on the next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I would like that.
Okay, and Councillor Cross?
I'm in favor of doing the third reading, but I would like to ask, is this going to hinder us in any way with the hiring process? Or I made the mistake once of not understanding, putting off something. I don't want to make that mistake again. So is there a detriment to having this done immediately? Cindy, can you answer that, please?
I would say Peggy would probably be the better person to answer that question.
Okay.
Okay, Peggy, I'm asking you that question then, please.
I don't see an issue with dealing with this at the next council meeting for the third reading. I believe council has already embarked on a process to look at hiring the new person. This will not affect that, so I think it's fine.
Okay, thank you.
So I vote yes.
My main reason for asking to hold it over to the next meeting is I haven't spoken to all people that I want to talk to yet about this.
Okay. Oh, Cindy?
I just wanted to mention that there was a blank in the document that needs to be filled. There was a motion in the package in terms of the minimum amount of dollars per employee for learning and professional development. Before council moves on to the next item, just if we could do this motion and so that I can fill that blank in for the third reading, and then it will be a complete document.
That was on the last page in our package of the policy for the bylaw.
Yeah.
So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one as well. So Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Brooker, can you second it, please? So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Cross and seconded by Councillor Brooker that we need to commit to a minimum amount of dollars per employee for learning and professional development. I'm going to open this for discussion. Does anyone have any thoughts on what that amount should be? Councillor Brooker.
Oh, I've read it before on what it was. Someone give me that information. Has it been in the past?
Mayor Pennell, can I answer that question?
I didn't even hear the question, but yes, please go ahead.
So the question was, what has it been in the past?
Oh, okay.
And the answer is there's never been a set amount in the past.
Okay.
Okay. It's
Is
a
my
tough one for me
understanding-
because I don't know. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kim. Councillor Brooker.
I was just saying I don't know an amount off the top of my head. I believe for counselors it's 5,000 per year. Is that correct? But for employees, I don't know.
I don't believe we
So I'll
have
let someone else
$5,000 per counselor, but
That was listed in the strategic plan, Mayor Pennell. The $5,000 was listed for council in the strategic plan.
yeah, going forward, yes. But this is a minimum amount, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be
Don't have an answer.
achieved, okay, but it's there to be used if required.
Would it not be a different amount depending on the position in the municipality?
A different amount depending on the position, is that what you said, Councillor Castellan?
Yes, that's what I meant. Yes.
Okay. Any
So-
thoughts, Councillor Cross? Oh,
Well, I think it's dependent on what type of position you're holding and what type of education. I think certain things would be for certifications or I would like to think that the majority of the people would already have the majority of their qualifications, but there's always upgrading, I'm sure. To have a minimum amount, I'm thinking per employee is this for a year? Per year, right?
This would be a budgeted amount per employee.
So, I don't know. I mean, things are pretty expensive, so I'm afraid what I would say is probably going to be too little. But I was going to say, $300 to $400 employee per year, if needed, if warranted. I mean, investing in our staff is important. Keeping up with everything that needs to be taken care of is important. I do know that if they have the position, they should be pretty qualified, but everybody still needs to, you know, can learn. So I don't know, I've never had to put the position number in this position before. So $300 to $400 per person, I'm not sure.
But I understand it would also carry over to unused portions would also carry over to the next year and the next year. If I read the proposed bylaw correctly.
Cindy, I noticed your hand up.
I just wanted to say that the average cost of a course for a webinar, seminar, whatever you want to call it, is between $300 and $400. Most of them ranging in the $400 range. That's the minimum cost. So, for instance, the AMCTO courses that I take are $450 per course.
Councillor Shipton, any thoughts?
Well, that was one question I was going to ask, was how much these courses are, because it's hard to know on average what each person. But I mean, yeah, per employee, that's a fair chunk of change. So yeah, $300 to $400 sounds good to me. Obviously, it's not going to cover the whole course, but I'm not sure how we resolve that either, because we can't just keep paying out for courses. Well, they have to be warranted too. So I don't know. Even if we went with $500 per employee.
So it'd be one course or one webinar a year?
Well,
I'm just asking, that's all.
Well, I mean, it would have to be warranted. Like if the person needs the course, then that's going to change whatever. If it's something that is a must-have, not a nice-to-have, then
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. How do we determine if something's necessary? Because in other workplaces, I know you can choose the course just because you think it might help you, and that's a lot of dollars. So where does the determination come in that the person requires the course?
So you're right, but the wording of this says, okay, that council hereby will commit to a minimum of dollars per employee for learning and professional development. It doesn't say max, okay, it says min. So if we decide that $500 is minimum, okay, that doesn't mean that it's the maximum. It means the minimum we'll commit to. If there's a valid reason for additional course or professional development, then that could be also accepted or approved.
In the draft bylaw that we were talking about in the previous session, it says the council will commit a minimum of, and then it says, for an example, 5% of the total annual wage amount or a minimum of X amounts of dollars per employee. Can we agree on a percentage? Let's say 2% of the total annual payroll.
That'll be up to us to determine.
Yeah. Because I think, and that goes from previous employment, that it was 2% of my annual wages would be available for courses.
A minimum of, right? Or is that a
Minimum.
maximum?
Minimum of 2% of total payroll, and that could then be used by any employee when necessary.
Okay. So if that's, I don't know, we have to get people's thoughts on that. If we have to modify this resolution, or
But I wouldn't be against $350 or $400 per employee.
okay. So Councillor Cross was sitting at 5, I think. Councillor Shipman was around the same. Here at 4. Councillor Brooker,
500
5.
sounds good.
Okay, so 5554. We're all good for 5. Councillor Brooker, are you good for 5? 100?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Castellan,
Yes.
Councillor Cross,
Well, I actually was at 300 to 400. But yeah, 5 is fine.
okay. Councillor Shipham,
Yes.
okay. So I'm gonna ask for a vote on this then. Councillor Brooker, do you vote on $500 per employee for learning professional development? Okay. Councillor Castellan, do you
Yes.
vote? Oh, yes? Okay.
Yes.
Councillor Cross,
Yes.
Councillor Shipham,
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item G. And it's improved hydro rates from Ontario Wholesale Energy. We had a lady make a presentation at our last meeting. We have a recommendation from our clerk treasurer, Cindy, that council acknowledge receipt of report 2022 CT03, improved hydro rates from Ontario Wholesale Energy, and direct staff to request references from the representative Jennifer Shainline, and if the references are positive, to enter into a contract with Ontario Wholesale Energy for improved hydro rates. The executive summary is Ms. Jennifer Shainline from Ontario Wholesale Energy presented at the January 11, 2022 council meeting on how her company could help us improve our hydro rates by signing a contract with their company to have the same rate all day. There would be no changes in a rate based on the time of day. Financial staffing considerations. It is estimated that this would provide cost savings for the municipality. Can you lift it up a little bit, please, Cindy? Okay. Based on information provided by Ms. Shainline, the following is an example taken from October 2021 billing cycle. At 13:55, 55 Pillars Drive, we paid $306.48 for electricity, but if we had been on a wholesale rate, would have been more like $220 to $230. The fire hall at 1238 Pillars Drive, we paid $36.25 for electricity, but if we had been on the wholesale rate, would have been more like $25 to $30. And the ice rink at 1331 Peddlers Drive paid $22.19 for electricity, but if had been on the wholesale rate, would have been around $15. There would be no changes to the way in which staff processes the invoices. Analysis and rationale. As this appears that it will provide cost savings to the municipality of Calvin, it will be in the best interest of the municipality to enter into a contract with Ontario Wholesale Energy. However, it is cautioned that we do not know much about this company, and therefore requesting references and contacting references would be in the best interest to ascertain the authenticity of Ontario Wholesale Energy. If positive feedback is provided, then it would be the recommendation to move forward with signing a contract with Ontario Wholesale Energy. Can you move it down, Cindy, please? Okay. Council will decide alternatives for consideration. Council would decide not to move forward with this company and leave things the way they are. And next steps, Council should decide whether they would like to move forward with contacting references, and if positive feedback is provided, then move forward with a contract with Ontario Wholesale Energy. As respectively submitted by Cindy Peugeot. So I think what we need to do is determine if we're going to look for references. So I'll need a mover and a seconder to do that. Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Castelline, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
So we have this resolution before us, and it's moved by Councillor Cross and seconded by Councillor Castelline. That Council acknowledges receipt of report 2022 CT03, improved hydro rates from Ontario Wholesale Energy, and direct staff to request references from their respective representatives, Jennifer Shaneland. And if the references are positive, then enter into a contract with Ontario Wholesale Energy for improved hydro rates. Any discussion? Councillor Booker.
No, I just wanted to say that I thought it was an interesting presentation, but it's nice to see these examples for what our consumption is and what it could be. So we didn't have that at the last meeting, so it's nice to have that. So I definitely agree if we get references to move ahead. So yes, no discussion beyond that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Castelline?
Yeah, it's interesting to see those numbers, and we have to remember that it's just the number for the electricity used. It is not has nothing to do with the delivery charges or any government taxes and stuff like that. So I looked on their website, and apparently their fee for participating is 0.95 cents per kilowatt hour that they charge to be a member of the Ontario Wholesale Energy. I was just wondering if there is any more fees. Is there an account fee, an account charge that is being charged every month, or is there anything else that is beyond the 0.95 cents per kilowatt hour? So yeah, what would be, for example, what would be the break-even point if you would go with Ontario Wholesale Energy? Would it be at 750 kilowatt hours a month, or would it be more like 1,000 kilowatt hours a month? So I still have some questions. So I would like to hear about references, what other people that are using Ontario Wholesale, what they are saying, whether they were pleasantly surprised or whether they found a little snake in the grass. And that's my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cross.
Pretty much what everybody else is saying. My intuition is feeling very leery about the situation. I think references from people who have used them for at least over a year, excuse me, the contract I would really want to have looked over. There's always those little fine lines that you might miss. I mean, I'm willing to participate in things that will definitely save the municipality money, but we definitely have to, I think, be on the side of caution before signing up for anything. So having those references is very important.
Councillor Shipham.
No, I agree. We should get the references and talk to people that have been with them for a little bit longer, and for sure, you know, look at the contract before we step into something that it might not be. But I'm all for saving money.
Okay, so it sounds like the resolution changes a bit. Okay, so it's not that the office would contact references, and if they're positive to move ahead with the contract, it's for the office to contact references and then bring those references back to council to determine if council wants to proceed with the contract. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes.
Yes, I see heads nodding. Okay. Okay, so we'll that's the reference are positive again. Bring the information I've seen back to council for further discussion. So I'll need to have this resolution modified. Okay. So I'll read it first, and if we're in favor of it, then fine, then we can pass the resolution. So, excuse me, this is how the resolution is being modified. So, therefore, be it resolved that Council acknowledge receipt of Report 2022 CT03, Improved Hydro Rates from Ontario Wholesale Energy, and direct staff to request references from their representative, Jennifer Shainline. And if the references are positive, then bring the information obtained back to council for further discussion. I don't even think the references have to be positive. Just bring that information back to council. So, are you in favor of this modification to the resolution? Councillor Brooker.
Yes, I am.
Councillor Castellan.
Mayor Pennell?
Yes, sorry.
Do you move forward so do you want me to cross off the positive part? So do you want me to cross off this as well?
I would like all the information from the references provided to us, not just the positive ones.
Okay, so I just want to make sure everybody's voting on the same thing, so.
Councillor Cross, you have something?
Yes, I'm just wondering if it's possible to have a look at the contract as well. Because I mean, to bring this back a third time with, like, could we not have both the references and, if possible, a copy of a contract so that could be read over by municipal staff or our lawyer, or I think the contract is important to not to forget about.
Would it be a copy of the contract? Because if we wouldn't be able to get the actual contract because we hadn't agreed to it yet, right? Oh, okay. Does that addition meet with your needs, Councillor Cross?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so, that's changed a little bit again. Are you in favor of the wording the way it is now, Councillor Brooker?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Castellan?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
Okay, I am as well. So I'm going to call for a vote on the resolution in itself. Councillor Brooker, are you in favor of this resolution? Yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Castellan?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
I am as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item H, and it's East Nipissing District Home for Castle Home, East Nipissing District Home for the Aged, and it's a support for Castle Home becoming a municipal home. We have a resolution in front of us. I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for it. Councillor Shipham, can you move this, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Brooker, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Shipham, second by Councillor Brooker. Now therefore be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin supports the City of North Bay's initiative to continue to investigate the implications of transitioning Castle Home from a District Board of Management home to a City of North Bay municipal home as soon as possible. And 2, direct the Mayor and Clerk Treasurer to communicate on behalf of the Municipality of Calvin with the member municipalities and members of provincial government regarding the transitioning of Castle Home from the District Home of Management home to a municipal, from the District Board of Management home to a municipal home for the purpose of gathering information and showing support of the transition if found feasible by the City of North Bay. And 3, continue to support and development of Castle Home in parallel with the possible transitioning of the home to the City of North Bay. And 4, this resolution be forwarded to all of the member municipalities. Any discussion? Councillor Brooker.
No discussion.
Councillor Castellan.
Yeah, I think it would be very much preferable for Castle Home to be a municipal home. We would be, in continuing in the next years, we would only be liable for the so-called mortgage payments and would not be liable for the variable operating costs. And that helps us with future budget planning. And yeah, I'm very strong in favor of this transitioning to a municipal home.
Great, thank you. Councillor Cross?
I agree with Councillor Castellan's comments. I think it's important that we show a united front and that we continue on the path of making, hopefully, this, transform, and that's all.
Okay. Councillor Shipham?
No, I agree with both Councillor Cross and Councillor Castellan that we need to hopefully get this transition to North Bay as a municipal home going and done as quickly as possible.
Well, it seems like lots of support from the city, so I'm going to call for a vote on this resolution. Councillor Brooker, do you vote to proceed with this resolution, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Castelline,
Yes.
Councillor Cross,
Yes.
and Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so this resolution is also carried. Thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is item I. And it's support for the mayor himself to attend the mayor's sessions on Castle Home redevelopment project. So we have this resolution. I'll need a mover and seconder for it. Councillor Brooker, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I will.
And Councillor Shipman, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Brooker, seconded by Councillor Shipham. Whereas the Corporation of Municipality of Calvin is one of 9 municipalities represented on the Board of Management of East Nipissing, as Nipissing East as set out in Schedule 4 of Ontario Regulation 79/10. And whereas the East Nipissing District Home for the Aged, Castle Home, is under the direction of the Board of Management of Nipissing East, and whereas the mayor has participated in certain meetings with the mayors of other municipalities represented on the Board of Management for Nipissing East to discuss issues related to their representation, including but not necessarily limited to issues related to Castle Home, the Castle Home member meetings, and whereas Council is aware of the mayor's participation in the Castle Home member meetings, now therefore be it resolved that Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin confirms that the mayor was authorized to participate in the Castle Home member meetings and authorized and directs the mayor to continue such participation. Any discussion? Councilor Brooker.
No, I have no discussion. I fully agree with what's written.
Thank you. Councillor Castelline?
I have nothing to add to this. I actually laud the mayor for participating in those meetings so that we get a united front. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Castelline. Councillor Cross?
Yeah, the same as before. And I mean, we thank you, Mayor Pennell. Not a lot of people know how many hours that you and Cindy have participated in these meetings. Countless. It's, you know, a lot of things don't get seen behind the scenes. And I think the constant pressure of also lobbying for us to change this thing with the weighted assessment, you've been able to, you know, get one support by at least one of the other municipalities that have put forth a letter in support of that. So hopefully the rest will support that as well. But no, we completely support you continuing on with these meetings and pushing what we can to have the best scenario for Calvin. That's all.
Thanks, Councillor Cross. Councillor Shipham?
No, I agree. We need for you to be in there pushing for Calvin's interest and Calvin's ratepayers.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to call for a vote on this resolution. Councillor Brooker, do you vote yes or no in agreement with this resolution?
Yes.
Councillor Castelline?
Yes, yes, yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. And thank you all. Next item on the agenda is item J, and it's a report from the clerk treasurer, and it's 2022 CT04, a policy to regulate the use of herbicides and pesticides on municipal property. So I can read it, I guess. Recommendation that Council acknowledge receipt of report 2022 CT04, policy to regulate the use of herbicides and pesticides on municipal property, and direct staff to refer any complaints regarding the use of herbicides and pesticides to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks at the Ontario Ministry of Environment Public Information Center at 1-800-565-4923 or 416-325-4000 pertaining to the Province of Ontario's Cosmetic Pesticide Ban Act. Executive summary: on July 27, 2021, Resolution 2021-0174, Council requested that the Clerk Treasurer proceed with the research and development of a policy to regulate the use of herbicides and pesticides on all municipal property. And then financial staffing considerations. There will be little to no financial or staffing considerations if the recommendation is accepted, as all complaints of this nature will be referred to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. Analysis and rationale for the recommendation. Through the course of research, the draft policy to regulate the use of herbicides and pesticides on all municipal property, it was determined that most municipalities who had herbicide and pesticide policies have not repealed these policies with the passing of Provincial Bill 64. The Cosmetic Pesticide Ban Act, which is an act to amend the Pesticide Act to prohibit the use and sale of pesticides that may be used for cosmetic purposes. This bill received royal assent on June 18, 2008, and was proclaimed to come into effect on April 22, 2009. Alternatives for consideration. Council could request that staff develop a policy on herbicide and pesticide pesticide use on all municipal property in spite of the provincial regulation. Next steps. Council to decide whether they would like staff to proceed with the development of a policy to regulate the use of herbicides and pesticides on municipal property. Respectively submitted by our clerk, Cindy Pichot. Okay, any discussion? Councillor Brooker. I'll need a mover and a seconder before we discuss it. Councillor Castellan, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay, I'll read it again. The Council acknowledges receipt of report 2022 CT04, policy to regulate the use of herbicides and pesticides on municipal property, and direct staff to refer any complaints regarding the use of herbicides and pesticides to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks at the Ontario Ministry of Environment Public Information Center, 1-800-565-4923 or 416-325-4000, pertaining to Provincial Province of Ontario's Cosmetic Pesticide Ban Act. Any discussion? Councillor Brooker.
Personally, I think that we should proceed with the policy, even though there is that ban. I know people do smuggle from the States different pesticides, and I know it's not right, but if it were a policy as opposed to just going with the bill, people might think more about it. You know, it's killing our bees. Different pesticides are killing our bees. We need our bees. I just don't think it hurts to have a policy in place for that in Calvin.
Okay, so you're saying you think we should have our own policy and regulate that rather than just referring it to the Ministry of the Environment? Is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm thinking if there's a policy, people can at least in Calvin refer to that.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Okay. Councillor Castellan?
Yeah, whatever policy that we as a municipality decide will most likely not apply to farming. So I don't think it would be very effective. Secondly, I had a question. Does the municipality at the moment use any herbicides or pesticides on, for example, the roadside or on the playground or the ball field? Is there any use of herbicides and pesticides? If the municipality does not use, then I would suggest that our policy will be no use of herbicides and pesticides anywhere on municipal property, except for where it affects farming. So that's my 2 cents to it.
I don't know the answer to your question. I think it's no, but I'm not positive. Do you know, Cindy?
The municipality does not use any herbicides, pesticides on roads. In the ball field, no, the way we deal with weeds there is cut the grass.
So I think our policy should be no use of herbicides or pesticides in the municipality except for farming purposes.
No, this is on municipal property. That's
Yes.
what this is.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, no. Then that's it. No use of herbicides and pesticides on municipal property at all. Period.
Councillor Cross.
A little mixed feelings on this. I personally feel that we don't really need to make a policy on this. I think this should be complaint based. If somebody has, nobody should be spreading anything on municipal property. I'm sure they wouldn't like it if we showed up and sprayed something on their property. It's not right. It hurts too many animals. It could even hurt, farmland. I think this should, we don't really have the expertise, I don't believe, within our staff for them to be able to determine what type of poison or herbicide was used. I think it should really go directly to the people who deal with this particularly. We can help either call or direct them to where they need to go. I think that writing a policy on this, I think it'll be hard to enforce. And I think having the Ministry of Environment is a little more scary than, say, our bylaw officer. That's all. That's my feeling on it.
Okay. Councillor Shipham.
Does anybody know what the consequences may be after a complaint has been called in to the Ministry of the Environment? Is there, like what will that do?
I'm assuming they would investigate, but not sure what would happen afterwards.
I would think that there would be a fine.
Yeah, but we don't know for sure.
Kim?
I'm just thinking that a complaint happens after something has been done. If we already have a policy that the public cannot put any pesticide or anything like that on municipal property prior to a complaint, because once a complaint's there, it's already done. Yes, there may be a fine, I don't know. But if it's a policy that you cannot do it, then people should be aware in advance, as opposed to afterwards saying, no, you shouldn't have done that.
Makes sense. So then I'm of the opinion that we should have the no tolerance policy, pretty much, that it's not used on municipal property. And that's like fairly straightforward and simple. No tolerance for it.
Okay, so I'm just going to paraphrase and hope I get it right. It sounds like most people are in agreement to a zero, they don't want pesticides or herbicides used in any amount on municipal property. And if it is used, we have a zero tolerance policy, at which time we would call the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks of Ontario to report that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes? I see in everybody's head going yes. Okay. Is that doable, Cindy?
Yeah, we can make a policy and essentially state that the way it's enforced is by calling the ministry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We can pass a bylaw. I'll bring a bylaw to the next council meeting. Do you want to amend this motion then?
We can either amend it or you can bring it back to the next meeting, a different one back to, we defer this one to the next meeting and you make a correction to it? Would that work?
The better way to do that would be to defeat this one, and then
Okay.
I'll bring another another motion, to the next council meeting saying prepare a bylaw.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on this resolution then. Councillor Brooker, how do you vote, yes or no?
Could you recap, Cindy, again, what you're saying? Sorry, we're defeating this one? Is that what you're
If we defeat this one, at our next meeting, one will be brought back, a policy will be brought back that's changed in accordance with what we discussed tonight, and we would vote on that policy at that time.
Okay, I agree with that.
So you're in favor or not in favor of this resolution, the one we have in front of us? You're not in favor of it, right?
I'm not in favor. Yes, correct.
Thank you. Councillor Castellan, do you vote yes or no?
No.
Okay. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
No.
And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
No.
I think this policy does it anyway, but I'll vote no just to be unanimous. Okay, so thank you. All right, so okay. Next item on the agenda is item K. And it's report 2022 CT05 and its property standards bylaw. We've brought this up at a few meetings, and the last time it was brought up was when our new councillors were coming on board, and we decided that we would bring it up again at a meeting in the future when everybody got their feet under them, kind of. So I'm going to read this report, and then we can go from there. So the recommendation is that Council acknowledge report 2022 CT05, property standards bylaw, and direct staff to develop a simple property standards bylaw to regulate residential properties, non-residential properties, vacant buildings, and land. Executive summary. In 2021, there was a situation that occurred in which a property standard bylaw would have been useful for the municipality to have in order to regulate and protect neighboring properties and the residents of the municipality of Calvin. Council began discussing the potential of developing a property standards bylaw. to help manage those types of situations in the future. For the financing and staffing considerations, there will be staff time associated with developing a property standards bylaw, and the background attached is a report from the Clerk Treasurer's 2021 CT 53, consolidation of council ideas for property standards bylaw. Also included are 2 example bylaws that were provided to council to indicate what type of property standards bylaw that they would prefer to base our bylaw on. The analysis and rationale for a recommendation. Development of a simple property standards bylaw would provide another tool for the municipality of Calvin to help build a strong, rural, and safe community dedicated to the preservation of our heritage and culture, as well as the development of our natural and human resources. Section from our mission statement. Alternatives for consideration. Council could decide not to develop a property standards bylaw. This is not recommended, as the bylaw provides direction to staff, but specifically our bylaw officer, on how to proceed with situations as they occur. Next steps. Council should decide whether they would like to proceed with the development of a property standards bylaw. Appendices, there was attachment 1 was the report from the Clerk Treasurer, 2021 CT 53. That was a consolidation of council ideas. Our property standards bylaw. And attachment 2 was property standards bylaw from the Township of Papineau Cameron. And attachment 3 was property standards bylaw from the Township of Chisholm. And item 4 was feedback from a resident. And this it was respectively submitted by our Clerk Treasurer, Cindy. So, we have to determine what our next step is. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Castelline, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Shipman, seconded by Councillor Castelline. The Council acknowledges receipt of report 2022 CT05 Property Standards Bylaw and directs staff to develop a simple property standards bylaw to regulate residential properties, non-residential properties, vacant buildings, and land. This is open for discussion. Councillor Brooker.
I do believe that a property standards bylaw is important. It's to regulate and protect the community members, the properties, and also to assist the bylaw officer with how to proceed. If something is very clear and the bylaw is accessible to everyone, which they are, it should make it clear for everyone. So I do believe that a simple property standards bylaw is something we should go forward with.
Councillor Castelline.
Yes, a simple property standards bylaw, I think that is the key word, because from the 2 examples that we have been given, they seem to be very, very restrictive. And I'm not in favor of a very restrictive property standards bylaw. In the first place, who is going to judge if something is contrary to the bylaw? Secondly, who is going to enforce it? And thirdly, I'm not at freedom to determine what if somebody's lawn is covered with junk, because what in my eyes may be junk could be in somebody else's eye a treasure. And if any bylaw is being developed for property standards, then we have to be very careful that we take into account that there is businesses around here that have, out of necessity, stuff in their yards that some people may consider junk. For example, farmers will have large tarps that they need to keep on the ground with tires. How many tires, and we talked about this in the past, how many tires would a farmer be allowed to keep? 20, 30, 50? In my eyes, it would be as many as necessary. However, I do not like to see them spread out all over the property. If they could be kept in a nice concentration, that would be preferable. And thirdly, anybody taking any pride in their property will maintain it. People who do not maintain it, who do not have pride in their property, will not change just because of a bylaw. So I don't know if a restrictive bylaw is very beneficial to us. A general one, yeah, sure, but I would have to see what's in it. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for that. Councillor Croft.
Well, I've gone back and forth on this issue a number of times. I've heard from a lot of different people with talking about property standards. A lot say, no, we don't want that. We moved out to the country. We don't want to be told what to do. And then on the other hand, I hear from a whole lot more people saying, yes, we need property standards. We want to protect our land. We don't want, we've invested in our property. We don't want to dump next door. I'm not really one to want to tell people how to live, or my concern is the safety of our fire department. If they have to go to a call and they're stumbling over things that are so close to the house, or they can't get through tall grass near the house. To me, it's a safety and health issues, health hazards. We have a dump. I don't believe somebody should start a dump in their backyard. Not only does it bring in animals closer to other people's homes, but it also rats or mice or other varmints, or, I mean, I think for me, it's mostly safety and health. And I believe that there should be a policy, but I'd love to see it extremely simple. I think a lot of these examples that we were given, there was a lot of stuff in there that had to do with the building codes. If it's already in the building code, do we really need to add it to the property standards? I don't think so. I think if it's kept simply, I mean, I don't want to tell anybody how tall their grass has to be, but the grass should be cut around the driveway. It should be so that somebody can see a vehicle coming out, or bushes. I think it really should just surround about safety of oncoming traffic or children playing by the road. Our fire department, the thing with the tires, the only question I would have about that, because I have a lot of tires, is would there be a risk if they had caught on fire somehow? Would the fire department be able to put the fire out? Because that is a substance that is quite toxic, and I don't know how easily it would to be put out a fire. But yeah, keeping it extremely basic, more for, the people who have to live next to some of these situations where there's a lot of garbage accumulating. And I mean, like, garbage in the sense of stuff that should go to the dump, not garbage as in if, somebody has an old plow and they think it's useless, that's a treasure to me. So I think keeping it simple is pretty important. The safety and health. Yeah, that's pretty much.
Councillor Shipham.
I agree with a lot of the comments that were made. I don't believe that we need to regulate how tall people's grass is or what color your siding is or whether your eaves troughs or whatever. That's just nitpicky little junk that doesn't necessarily do anything. As Councillor Castellan said, people that have pride in their property will continue to have pride in their property and will continue to look after it and try to make it look better. It needs to be simple. It needs to be easy for people to look at, follow. It needs to be more, as Councillor Cross said, about the safety, because everybody out here is pretty much on a well. So you don't want whatever is in your neighbor's yard contaminating your water source. So as long as the emergency workers can get in there safely, children can play on the side of the road, you can get in and out without any visibility hazards. I think those are pretty much the things that we would need in our property standards, and maybe it shouldn't even be called the Property Standards Act. Maybe it should be called a Safety Act or something else, but nice and simple.
Okay, so it sounds like, I'll paraphrase again, that everyone thinks we should have a property standards bylaw, but it has to be really simple. Am I correct? Nod? Yes. Okay. Everybody's saying yes. Okay, so everybody's had a chance to discuss this. So this directive would be for our clerk treasurer to bring back to us a simple property standards bylaw. Okay? So I'm going to call for a vote on that. Councillor Brooker, do you vote yes or do you agree with that statement, yes or no? And this resolution?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Councillor Castellan?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you very much. This resolution is carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is a report from the clerk treasurer. It's 20 to CT06 zoning bylaw, potentially more amendments. And it's a report, as I mentioned, from our clerk. And I'll read this one again. Recommendation is that council acknowledges receipt of 2022 CT06 zoning bylaw, potentially more amendments, and direct staff to contact Mr. Glenn Turnock to further discuss these amendments and finalize our new zoning bylaw to be brought to council for approval. Executive summary. The municipality has been working with Mr. Glenn Turnock to update our zoning bylaw to present a new version of the bylaw to council since 2018. We are in the final stages of revising the zoning bylaw and would like to have it completed and approved by council in the first quarter of the year 2022. The financial staffing considerations. There has been and will be staff time associated with the development of the new zoning bylaw. There will also be the final charge from Mr. Glenn Turnock for the development of this new zoning bylaw. Background, staff has been working with Mr. Glenn Turnock for the past number of years to update and develop a new zoning bylaw that is relevant to today's standards and conditions. They've also been trying to clarify any references in the current version of the zoning bylaw to make it more user-friendly for both staff and the public. Analysis, rationale for recommendation. Staff, along with Mr. Glenn Tunnock, have been reviewing the current zoning bylaw to try to remove any conflicting information contained in the document, as well as clarify any references that were ambiguous. The following are further references that we have discovered could be further clarified. They also include some responses from Mr. Glenn Tunnock. I have had time to consider your CBO's concerns about the interpretation of Section 4.21 B of the bylaw with respect to pits and quarries. The way the bylaw was construed creates a conflict in that the first part of the section establishes a separation standard for a pit and a quarry, while the following section introduces a policy that contradicts the first part. With an influence area of 300 meters, that's 984 feet, the boundary of a mineral aggregate resource zone boundary for a pit, or 1,000 meters, 3,280 feet, for a quarry, respective no sensitive land use shall be permitted unless appropriate measures have been undertaken to mitigate adverse and potential adverse impacts such as visual impacts, noise, dust, traffic, or groundwater quality and quantity. Adverse effects may be addressed by means of a phasing plan, rehabilitation plan, landscaping, berming, specified truck routes, or other measures acceptable to council. This policy is more the purview of the official plan and should apply to lot creation. I am recommending that this be removed from the bylaw, and I have revised the amending bylaw by doing so. As I have indicated in the post, the protection of natural resources for the economic value is very important in rural areas of rural township municipalities. This poses a challenge to Kelvin because there is really no urban area to redirect growth. Consequently, there needs to be a balance struck between resource protection and rural development. The designation of the official plan of the mineral aggregate resource area is based on geological survey mapping. The shortcoming of the mapping is that the aggregate resources that are illustrated may not have been fully evaluated for their economic value or suitability for the use in construction and road maintenance. This is why the opinion of an outside expert is important. An outside expert can evaluate the geological information relative to current aggregate demand and relative to surrounding development. The concept of the influence area complicates this evaluation by determining what mitigation measures can be undertaken to mitigate or reduce the impact of noise, dust, and truck traffic associated with a pit or a quarry operation. That said, there have been a number of lots created in rural Kelvin that have development rights given that the properties have been zoned to permit rural development. These rights could be arbitrarily removed if the wording above is retained in the bylaw. In summary, I suggest that the amending bylaw be used to remove the wording and that the separation distances be retained. And then there's a question from staff to Mr. Tunnock. Can you please also clarify when an environmental study needs to be done in a MX zone? I.e., if there are already a number of houses in the area, does a study really need to be done? What is an environmental study? Who decides what needs to be tested? We believe it would be good to have some clarity on this subject. And number two, there have also been some other issues that have come up that we would like to add to our zoning bylaw. We would like to add something in the limited services residential zone that a road maintenance agreement or a contractor's agreement for any maintenance to be completed on a seasonal road. We were thinking maybe in section 5.5, limited service rural, or section 4, general provisions. Number three, regarding the requirement to have a certain amount of acres of land to have one nutrient unit less, it is for agricultural use is ambiguous. I'll read that again. regarding the requirement to have a certain amount of acres of land to have one nutrient unit unless it is for agricultural use is ambiguous. If someone has a pig in their yard, then it could be said it is for agricultural use. We would like to see a tiered system in that more land you have, the more nutrient units you could have. An example was sent to you a while ago with some suggestions on how this could be set up. We think this would be a better approach. We feel that if this tiered system is put in place, then the exemption would therefore no longer be required. See sections 5439 and 5537. Alternatives for consideration. Council could request that the zoning bylaw be brought to council for approval as is. Next step, council could decide whether they would like, staff to discuss the suggested amendments with Mr. Glenn Turnock, and then move forward in finalizing the zoning bylaw to be brought to council for approval within the first quarter of 2022. And then it's the pennies and schedules. There's the current draft version of the municipal Calvin zoning bylaw, and this was respectively submitted by our clerk treasurer, Cindy. All right, so then we have a resolution here we're going to have to look at. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Brooker, can you second it?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pennell,
Yes, ma'am.
there is no motion to go with this. I can write one up if you'd like.
I thought there would be one as to how, because there was two options at the end of the report, right? One was to leave it as it is, and one was to proceed with having Mr. Turnock make the suggested changes.
We have to get the answers to the changes first, though.
Yes.
So does council want the answers to the questions first, and then we can proceed with whether we want to make the amendments or not?
Okay, let's ask that question of everyone. Councillor Brooker, would you like to get the answers to the questions before we determine how to proceed?
I believe we need the answers, yes.
Yes. Councillor Castelline?
I would answer that with a question. If we accept the zoning bylaw as it is right now, when would be the first chance for us to make amendments to it? In other words, if we get the answers to our questions, can we put them forward as an amendment to the bylaw? That would give us a little bit of time to wait for the answers from Mr. Turnock. Would it not?
I believe this. Oh, go ahead, Cindy, please.
You can't make an amendment to the zoning bylaw for 2 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you. That answers the question.
And we're hoping for this bylaw to last how long, Cindy?
It should be reviewed every 5 years, but it will be revamped if necessary in 10 years.
Okay, so can I ask that question again, Councillor Castelline?
In that case, I think we should wait for the answers on the questions that we have asked, and then incorporate them, and then approve the bylaw.
Well, I think the question is to get the answers to determine if we want to modify the bylaw, right?
Yes.
Or proceed with it the way it is.
Yeah. No, we should wait for the. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cross?
I do believe we should get the answers from Mr. Turnock, but I also would like to add a question to give to him as well.
Okay. You have that question? Or are you going to provide it?
Well, it is, I'm not exactly sure how to word it. It's just something that has come up since, well, obviously COVID, and before this was written, or COVID has come up after this was written, and our lives have changed a lot. And when it comes to the recreational vehicles, I'm wondering if we should be considering changing the days. A lot of people have bought land, brought up recreational vehicles. We have changed the fact that they can have 2 on a piece of property, not just 1. But it says that for building a home, there's only 30 consecutive days that they can stay in the recreational vehicle. No? Okay, Cindy. All right, she's shaking her head. Okay. You want to correct me before I go on?
I'd like to find the section of the bylaw. Just give me a moment, okay?
Page 122, I think. I believe there was 30 days for one circumstance and 60 days for another. And I'm thinking that maybe we should want to extend those days. I've had a few people mention about when they have farm help come up, they live in recreational vehicles during the summer, depending on how long they're up, that may exceed the days there. We have people who are coming up to escape the city, and some of them have the whole summer off, and that would exceed the days as well. So I'm just wondering if we should consider asking to extend some of these days. I do still believe they should not be living in it and as a permanent dwelling, especially in the winter. I just would like maybe council to consider that amendment or added question.
So Mayor Pennell, can I just clarify?
Yes, please.
So the 30 days, any permitted recreational vehicle can be used for short-term accommodation for a period not exceeding 30 days in a calendar year. So that doesn't mean necessarily 30 days consecutively. It means 30 days over the course of a calendar year. That's for short-term accommodation. However, if it's used for recreational use, then it can be extended to 60 days. If it's on a vacant lot. So if the recreational vehicles are on a lot with homes on them, for instance, it can't exceed 30 days. But if somebody, as Councillor Cross has suggested, if somebody's using this as an escape from the city or something like that, and they're using it as their quote-unquote cottage, then they can live in it for 60 days. Again, it doesn't need to be 60 consecutive days. It can be, but it can be weekends for the entire year or something like that. So I just want to clarify, I'm not saying anything against what Councillor Cross is suggesting. I just wanted to clarify that there is a difference between the two. And it doesn't relate specifically to building permits. If someone wants to live in a recreational vehicle in terms of when they're building a home, that is something different, and that should be discussed with the CBO.
Okay, so you can submit your question to Cindy then, Councillor Cross, and she can ask it on your behalf.
Oh, okay.
Councillor Shipham?
No, I think we should wait for the answers to come back to the questions.
Okay, thank you. All right. So next item on the agenda is item M, and it's from the Township of South Frontenac, and they're looking for support for daylight saving time, to keep daylight saving time all year, okay, rather than flop back and forth. So we know that the province of Quebec and the state of New York have to agree to this before Canada is going to agree to it, but need a mover and a seconder to discuss this. So Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Brooker, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution, and therefore be resolved that the Council hereby supports the Township of South Frontenac resolution supporting Bill 214 passed in the Legislative Assembly of Ontario in 2002 to make daylight savings time standard time. Any discussion? Councillor Brooker.
I definitely agree with it. It was changed that way in the Yukon, where I've just moved here from recently, and it just makes life so much more simple. So I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Councillor Castelline?
Yeah, we discussed this in last meeting, and I'm totally in favor of this. Absolutely.
Okay. Councillor Cross?
I'm okay with it, yeah.
Councillor Shipman?
I'm good with it.
Okay, I'm going to call for a vote on this one to support Township of South Frontenac on their resolution. Do you agree to support this? Yes or no, Councillor Brooker?
Yes.
Councillor Castelline?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so this resolution is also carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item N, and it's from the East Nestling Planning Board, and it's for consent application 2021-20 Maxwell. So I'll need a mover and a seconder to move ahead with this one. Councillor Castellane, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Shipman, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Castellane, seconded by Councillor Shipman. Whereas an amendment has been completed to the original application for consent number 2021-20, in the name of Daniel and Jody Maxwell, and filed with the East Nestling Planning Board on land known as Concession 7, Part Lot 17, Municipality of Calvin. Originally, a consent application was filed to create two new residential lots of approximately 2.4 and 4.78 acres at the municipal address of being 411 Highway 630. The consent application has been amended to create one new residential lot with a right-of-way. On July 27, 2021, the Council of Municipality of Calvin passed a resolution number 2021-166, recommending the following. Now, therefore, the Council of Municipality of Calvin resolves that it is recommended that the East Nestling Planning Board give provisional consent to this application, and a copy of the completed survey for the new residential lot shall be provided to the municipality in both digital format and as a hard copy, and that the 5% cash in lieu shall apply to the newly created lots and is payable in full to the municipality as a requirement of consent. Now therefore be it resolved that council does not wish to change any of the original conditions in light of the changes made to the application and recommends that the East Nipissing Planning Board move to the next steps of the consent application. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up for discussion. Councilor Brooker, do you have any, Cindy, can you?
Sorry, Mayor Pennell, I just wanted to say that if any of council has any questions in this regard, Mr. Maxwell, Mr. Dan Maxwell has offered that I can call him and have him join the meeting so that he could answer any questions should there be any. So I just wanted to put that out there that he has made that offer if council has any questions.
Thank you. That's really good to know. So, does anyone have any questions? Councilor Brooker?
So what I'm understanding, I believe, is that back in July, council passed the resolution for 2 lots. It's now been changed to 1 lot with a right-of-way. Is that correct? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
I don't see it. Okay. Then I don't see any issue with it. It's not like they're trying to make 15 out of 2, so I don't really have any discussion, I believe, at this point.
Okay. Councilor Castellan?
No, I agree with Councillor Brooker that changing the application for instead of 2 lots, only 1 lot, it doesn't really make it doesn't really change anything to the face of Highway 630. It still remains the same, except that there is no second lot behind it. So, yeah, there's a right of way, but the right of way, of course, it is a matter between the owner of the lot and the owner of the retained lot, how that right of way is being dealt with, and who's going to maintain it and stuff like that. But that's not the municipality's problem. That is the lot owner's problem. So I have no reservations on this. No.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Croft?
No, I have no questions or reservations.
Okay, Councilor Shipham?
No, I have no questions.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. So there's no questions for Dan, so thank him for being available if he was required. So I'm going to call for a vote to accept this amendment. Councilor Brooker, you vote yes or no to accept the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, Councilor Castellan?
Yes.
Councilor Cross?
Yes.
Councilor Shipham?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is a report from the Clerk Treasurer, and it's 2022 CT02 budget policy. I'll read this one as well. The Council acknowledges receipt of report 2022 CT02 budget policy and directs staff to develop a budget policy to ensure that the budget is brought forward for passing in December for the following year. The executive summary asks for 2 examples of budget policies that outline the steps for staff to follow for bringing the budget forward for passing in December for the following year, rather than in June or July in the given year. It is also suggested that Council that the budget be presented to Council in a different manner and to offer an opportunity for the public to be involved in the process. Under the heading of financial staffing considerations, There will be time associated with the development of a budget policy. The administration staff will also need to develop reporting methods that will accurately capture the funds expense based on the strategic plan goals. This will take approximately 1 to 2 weeks to establish and will require review on an annual basis. Okay, and background. In the past 2 years, the budget has been passed in June or July. This can cause issues with planning projects and meeting completion dates before the end of the year. It can also cause issues with getting the final tax bill out at the appropriate time. Analysis and rationale for this recommendation. Budget passed prior to the start of the fiscal year allows for greater accountability and transparency. It also provides an opportunity for major projects to be tendered earlier, potentially resulting in better pricing and commence earlier, giving them an opportunity to be completed prior to the next fiscal year. The budget policy introduces the following changes to the municipality's existing practice. It will establish announcement of the budget in the fourth quarter with an intent to pass in December. The budget will be passed on the strategic priorities identified in the strategic plan. This year, a strategic plan was passed after many months of planning. Introduction of public consultation in the month of September. This provides an opportunity for the public to attend a public meeting, provide initial input on the budget. There could also be an opportunity for comments to be submitted in person, by mail, or by email. A second opportunity could also be presented prior to passing the budget, to provide an opportunity for the public to provide comment on a proposed budget. Comments can be presented by making a delegation to council, or by providing comments by mail or by way of email. For 2022, the initial public feedback component will take place in September, October of this year. The reorganization of the budget so that it can be presented based on the initiative, be it mandatory or discriminatory. Putting identifiers on purchases, projects, to identify how the document ties back to the strategic plan. Better understanding of the hidden costs associated with initiatives. Identifying the cost of flowers in the garden also includes labor costs associated with weeding, watering, and removing at the end of the season if necessary. Better understanding of whether the municipality currently retains adequate labor to fulfill the goals, objectives identified within the strategic plan for that given year. Priority to evaluate new programs and/or service enhancements for council's consideration. Introduction of a threshold of $10,000 or above to amend the operating budget. This is to reflect potential discrepancies within the estimated and actual costs for service rendered by agencies, boards, and commissions, i.e. the Integrity Commissioner, Insurance, Conservation Authority, etc. Alternatives for consideration. Council could decide not to pass a budget policy. This is not recommended as the policy provides direction to staff on the budgetary process and how Council would like to see the budget presented. Next steps. Council should decide which budget policy example provided that they prefer. Then staff can build a policy based on our municipality and present to Council. Appendices, or as attachment 1, there was a calendar budget policy and a Blind River policy. And this was respectively submitted by our clerk treasurer, Cindy Pizzo.
Mayor Pennell, can I just add a clarifier?
Yes, please.
This would not be for the 2022 budget, as we are already in 2022 and we have not started talks on the 2022 budget. This would be for the 2023 budget year.
With the initial input in September, right?
Correct.
Yeah. There's a resolution for this one, Cindy?
There is. Just hold on a moment. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought there was. I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one as well, please. So Councillor Castelline, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, can you second it, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Castelline and seconded by Councillor Cross. That Council acknowledge receipt of report 2022 CT02 budget policy and direct staff to develop a budget policy to ensure that the budget is brought forward for passing in December for the following year. Now this is open for discussion. Councillor Brooker, do you have anything to offer?
I just wanted to say that the rationale behind changing the date to December makes complete sense for staff direction, transparency, accountability, and getting better pricing because you're knowing your budget earlier, so you're requesting, information for tenders earlier in the year makes complete sense. So I am all for it.
Thank you. Councillor Castelline?
Yes, it does make sense because then it would line up with our fiscal year. The only thing is, I don't know if staff would be able to prepare a budget if they don't know the final numbers for the current year yet, which come out at the end of December. So I'm not sure if the end of December as a passing date would be appropriate. I would more or less say in the course of January that it's being passed by council. But that is, of course, my personal opinion on it. I think it may be difficult to come up with final numbers if you do not have the actual profit and loss or the statement of the end of the year yet. So. That's it.
That's all? Okay, Councillor Cross.
Very good comments. I agree with most of them. I like the idea of the policy, especially with hidden costs that come up that you don't realize, and if you can try to budget a little bit better as well. So I'm in support of this. Yeah.
Councillor Shipham?
Yeah, I'm in support of it too. I like the timeframes that are set out, and it conforms to what you've been trying to do all year, and making sure that deadlines are being met, and everything is on time and relevant to the step before or the step that's going to come after. It makes a lot of sense, and it's easier on well, I'm hoping it would be easier with helping to plan the budget as well.
Nothing further? I like the idea of getting the budget done in the first of the year rather than halfway through the year. But I also like Councillor Castellan's idea of passing the budget in January rather than December. It gives another month to gather information in regard to or from vendors and for pricing on parts. Most other, I think it seems like most other municipalities, like maybe the city of North Bay and whatever, passes their budgets in the first part of January. So I would prefer January to December, but that will be up to us all as a group. I'm going to ask for everyone's thoughts, and feel free to agree or disagree, for sure. Councillor Brooker?
January makes sense to me. I'm just wondering why December was the date in this to council.
I'm not sure.
Why December instead of January?
Cindy?
Councillor Castelline is correct in that sometimes the levy information does not come in until January. Usually we can get an estimate of what the percentage is going to be, the increase percentage is going to be. However, to answer the question, why December instead of January? Because January is extremely busy with government year-end, or with our year-end audit. So trying to get the budget completed and doing the year-end audit would be a lot of work.
All right. In light of that, I'll withdraw my, and I'll call for a vote on this resolution as it stands. Councillor Brooker, are you in acceptance of this resolution?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Castelline?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Are we going to pick which option we're going to go with before we vote? Or are we going to do that after?
What option?
I believe we were given two options, Blind River or Calendar, with the layout, or was that just an example?
Those were just examples so that you knew what a budget policy would look like.
Oh, okay. All right. So yes, I'm in favor.
Okay. Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
I'm in favor as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is item P, as in Peter. And it's from the Municipality of Calvin Fire Department. And it's for annual CBA float testing and servicing. I have really no idea what that is. I think it's a breathing apparatus, I believe, but I don't know what float testing is. Are you aware, Cindy?
What exactly the float testing is? No, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. All I know is essentially what this is on an annual basis is scuba gear needs to be tested, make sure that it's working properly so that in the event that they have to go into a fire, it's working appropriately.
So let's get a mover in a second. Thank you. Let's get a mover in a second on this before we proceed. Councillor Brooker, can you move this one, please? Councillor Shipman, can you second it?
Yes, I can.
So we have this resolution in front of us, that council hereby authorizes the fire chief to have the annual float testing and servicing in breathing apparatus completed at the end of January. So it sounds like it's an annual thing that's required, but it's open to discussion. Brooker, any discussion?
I have no discussion other than to say it's a safety measure, it's annual. My husband's been a volunteer fireman most of our married life, and I totally agree with anything to do with safety and fire fighting.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Castelline?
Of course, I'm in favor, but I assume that this resolution was brought forward because there's a cost involved. Not that I need to know the cost, because whatever is necessary needs to be done. But other than that, if it is an annual thing that needs to be done, then why was there a resolution?
Mayor Pennell?
Yes.
Can I just answer that for Councillor Castelline?
Yes, please.
Because we don't have a budget in place and we're spending money, a significant amount of money.
Ah. But it will then be included in the budget once the budget is brought forward.
That's correct, yes. This is
Okay.
just more or less to let council know that we're spending money before a budget has been put in place.
Okay.
Councillor Cross.
This has come up a couple of times, not this particular issue, but passing a resolution because it wasn't, it's early in the budget. Would this other policy that we just approved help with that? Making it so that it's all in the same year? I've questioned in the past why, if we've budgeted for something, why is it come to council ahead of time of the scheduled payment of something? All right.
Yes, Cindy?
So, in answer to your question, yes, the budget policy would help this because the budget would be passed before, in the previous year or the following year. So these types of resolutions would no longer be required because it would already be encompassed in the budget that has already been passed. The reason these come forward is because there has not been a budget passed yet, and it's to let council know that money is being spent. Because it hasn't been authorized because there isn't a budget yet.
That's pretty simple.
explain?
Yeah, it does. It just, yeah. So I'm in favor of this, yes.
Councillor Shippen?
I'm in favor.
Okay, so that was discussion. Now we're going to call for a vote. Councillor Brooker, do you vote proceed with this resolution? Yes or no?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Councillor Castelline?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shippen?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda is item Q, and it's Municipality of Calvin Rose Department Annual Mechanical Brushing and Transfer of Surplus to 2022. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one, please. Councillor Brooker, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Brooker, second by Councillor Cross. That council hereby acknowledges that due to the availability of our contractor, the mechanical brushing budgeted for in 2021 took place in late 2021 and early in 2022. Therefore, be it resolved that the unused portion allocated in the 2021 budget for mechanical brushing will become part of the surplus, and therefore the equivalent of the unused portion of the 2021 budget will be allocated from the surplus to the 2022 budget for mechanical brushing. This will therefore account for the work that was completed in January of 2022 and any associated 2022 invoices. Any discussion? Councillor?
looks pretty straightforward to me. I have no discussion.
Okay. Councillor Castellan.
Well, this is exactly the same as the previous resolution.
Pretty much.
Money was spent in 2022 from money left over in 2021. So yeah, we need to we need to have some way to quote unquote legalize this. Thank you.
Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Shipman.
No discussion.
All right. I call for a vote in this resolution. Do you vote to approve this resolution, Councillor Brooker?
Yes.
Castellan?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
Vote yes as well. So this resolution is also carried. So the next two items were kind of educational, and you could look at them or participate if you wanted to. Then the next item on the agenda is item 7, informational letters. Is there anything in the informational letters that anyone feels needs to be discussed or brought forward? Councillor Brooker.
Well, interesting, you know.
Is that a yes, or, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Other than being interesting, I didn't see anything that needed to be brought forward.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Castellan?
No, I have nothing. It's
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Cross?
Well, just to support Chisholm with, supporting Castle Home. Were they asking us for any support for Mattawa about the stop arm camera systems for the school buses? Or was that just giving information? They weren't asking for support, right?
I think we have.
One for the township of Chisholm, we basically passed a resolution tonight to the same effect as that. And I'm not sure, I can't remember the stop arm camera system for school buses, so town of Mattawa. They already have them, so.
Okay, otherwise, no, there's nothing.
No?
Nothing.
Okay, so Councillor Shipham, that's in there for you?
The only one that I was thinking of was towns of Mono and Town of Caledon for the POA backing.
Okay.
Since they're canceling a lot of court dates and stuff and stuff, it seems that things are falling through the cracks of how fast it's being looked after. It seems like a good idea to me to get the justice of the justice of the peace to be the person or the people to do the interviews or get whatever information is needed.
I'm in agreement with that.
But otherwise, that was it.
I didn't have anything in there. But I do support your Councillor Shipham. So can we bring Cindy, please?
Sorry, you were probably just going to do it, so I just wanted clarification. Is it a council decision then to bring support for the item O, the POA?
Councillor Castellan?
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Brooker?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
I'll say yes as well. So the answer to that question is yes, please.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is item 8. It's information letters available, and I don't believe there are any. After that, we have item 11 is the closed portion. There's none tonight. So 12, there's no business arising from the closed session. Item 13 is notice of motion. Not aware of any. After that, we have item 14. It's a new confirmatory bylaw. And this will be bylaw 2022-006. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for the first reading. So Councillor Castelline, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Shipman, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So we have bylaw in the proceedings of council for January 25th, 22 regular meeting. Moved by Councillor Castelline and second by Councillor Shipman. Any discussion? Councillor Brooker? Okay, Councillor Castelline?
I have no discussion on this, no.
Thank you. Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
I'm going to call for a vote on the first reading. Are you in favor of the first reading, Councillor Brooker?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Castelline?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
I am as well. So this first reading is carried. I need a mover and a seconder for the second reading. So Councillor Castelline, can you move that one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, can you second that, please?
Yes.
Okay. So the second reading of this bylaw is moved by Councillor Castelline and seconded by Councillor Cross. Is there any discussion on the second reading, Councillor Brooker?
No.
Okay. Councillor Castelline?
No.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on the second reading.
I thought you were voting. I'm sorry.
Councillor
You screwed me
Brooker?
up.
I know what you were thinking. Okay. Councillor Castelline? I think you voted
Yes.
Councillor Brooker, is that correct? You voted yes?
Yes.
Okay. And Councillor Castelline
Yes.
has voted.
Yeah.
Councillor Cross, how would you vote?
I'm almost tempted to say no, but I'll say yes. Yeah.
Okay, and Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So next up is the third reading. So Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Brooker, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we have the third reading, moved by Councillor Shipman, seconded by Councillor Brooker. This is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council on January 25th, 2022, a regular meeting of council. As reported by the Committee of the Whole, to be read the third time, passed and numbered 2022-006, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any discussion on this one? Councillor Brooker.
No discussion.
Councillor Castelline.
No discussion.
Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Shipman.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on the third reading. Are you in agreement with the third reading, Councillor Brooker?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Castelline?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
And I am as well. This bylaw is carried. Thank you very much. All right. So our last item on the agenda for this evening is adjournment. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for that as well. So Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Brooker, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we have this resolution moved by Councillor Cross, seconded by Councillor Brooker. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this regular meeting of council now be adjourned at 9:40 p.m. Any discussion, Councillor Brooker?
No discussion.
Councillor Castelline?
It went faster than I figured it would. No discussion otherwise.
Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote that we adjourn the meeting at 9:40. Are you in agreement, Councillor Brooker?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Castelline?
Yes.
Councillor Cross?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
Okay, this resolution, I vote yes as well. So this resolution is also carried. So that's the end of the meeting for tonight, folks. Thanks.